All right, y'all. I saw Teen Wolf the movie, and as a person that loves to be on YouTube, I wanted to see what was another person's perspective on the film. You know, see what it was like. So we're gonna check out the Friendly Space Ninja and see what he has to say about it. I watched his other stuff. I saw his previous. The reason why I really want to watch him too is because I watched his video on Teen Wolf, the TV show. And I see this title and he's talking about Teen Wolf, the movie, A Monumental Mistake. And I just don't know. Was it really a monumental mistake? Was it really? You know what I mean? That's just how I feel. Well, I haven't even said how I feel. Let's check it out.
So, after a long delay that made it feel like it would never be released, I finally got a chance to sit down and watch Teen Wolf the movie.
Okay.
A long-awaited continuation of the show that got very awkwardly cancelled in 2017. I've already made a video on the show. You're totally welcome to go watch that if you haven't.
Yeah, I like his review on that. Check that out.
Was in the works and slated to be released in 2022. It was a huge announcement. They had done it. After a lot of campaigning from the fans and the actors alike, they finally managed to revive Teen Wolf for a film continuation.
And I feel like they did revive it.
In a movie,
like, right? Actually revived it.
Everybody was excited. Hell, I was excited too. Teen Wolf was my shit when I was a teenager. I loved it. So, like pretty much everyone else, I was down to get another go. Well, friends, all I have to say is the result is probably the best example of the phrase, be careful what you wish for. Because,
relax, bro.
After that initial excitement that followed the announcement,
it's Teen Wolf we're talking about, bro. Come on now.
Quickly started to leave me a bit worried. The more we started to hear about the making of this project, the more I started to question the anticipation behind it. First off, like everyone else, the biggest disappointment came after the announcement that Dylan O'Brien would not be coming back.
I didn't expect him to come back though.
Obviously, Dylan and his character Styles were by far the best part of the show. People absolutely adore Styles, me included. He's genuinely one of the greatest teen TV characters of all time, so knowing he wouldn't be coming back was really unfortunate. But immediately after, the project was further tainted by an incident that really left me scratching my head. After we found out about Dylan O'Brien turning the movie down, it was also announced that Arden Sho, who played one of my favorite characters on the show, Kira Yukimura, had also turned down the movie and would not be coming back. However, unlike Dylan O'Brien, reports quickly followed that clarified that Arden had actually
she wasn't getting paid fairly
after she was only offered about half of the pay of her
co-stars.
Fair. She refused to be treated like lesser than, and so as a result, she decided to walk away, after which she scored a massive role in Netflix's live-action adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Ooh,
The show had already been done dirty by Teen Wolf and MTV during her time on the show. I talked about it in my last video. Kira is a great character that was an amazing addition.
Me personally, I never liked Kira. I never did. Like, she was cool, and when I realized, oh, you're basically the Nine-Tails Fox like Naruto, I still kind of, it was whatever to me. You know, she was whatever.
After that, not only the audience was blindsided.
I'm not gonna lie, I liked Scott and Allison together too, so that might have been another reason, but still.
She ended up releasing a YouTube video to confirm to fans of the show that she would not be coming back.
I think she got done dirty.
She didn't really know why.
A lot of you guys have been asking about Teen Wolf and what's happening, and I just want to say I love Kira Yukimura so much. I love the Yukimura family, but unfortunately it looks like we are wrapped up with Kira's storyline and she won't be coming back for season 6. there isn't always room for everyone and everyone's storylines, and so I guess that was it.
I understand that.
Teen Wolf. I mean, people
but low-key, when I watched that too, I didn't expect her to come back.
Finished shooting season 5, expecting to be coming back for season 6. Her character was
Fair.
sent on a journey that teased her.
Maybe that's just me who expected it, but yeah, like I didn't think she was gonna come back.
And so her story.
I just never did. I never expected her to come back.
In a way that's not very satisfying. So the fact that they did this again with the movie is like really insulting. On the day the movie came out though, Arden Cho did an interview where she said she had no regrets about turning down the movie, and honestly, good for her. I wish her the best. And the following disappointment regarding the movie was simply the marketing campaign. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. The marketing for this movie was embarrassingly bad. I have no idea why Paramount Plus decided to go about it the way they did, but oh my god, whoever was in charge of this does not deserve their job.
Why
it's
though?
honestly one of the most bizarrely handled marketing campaigns I've seen in years. It was all scattered and strange. It looked like they didn't really know how to market the movie.
Well, how would you want it to be,
trailers
though?
At very random times, and they failed to generate any
now,
hype
granted,
for a movie
this is coming from a Teen Wolf fan, so I look at it differently than trying to get someone who never watched it to watch it. You know what I'm saying?
Bad. The editing is so amateurish. It looks like those wonky fan edits you would see on TikTok, and it makes the movie seem so unappealing.
Okay, fair.
The trailers for the show
That's Teen Wolf though.
Infinitely better. They had weight. They made you want to watch. They were well executed and intriguing. Like, this is a clip from the trailer of season 5.
Where were you, Scott? You trusted him? You believed him? So where were you?
Okay, yeah. In season 5, I even like season 5 like that, but that was better, yeah. It was better. It was better, yeah. Yeah, it's better.
And this is a clip from the trailer of season 3.
Season 3, you didn't even have to do that one. You know season 3 was the best season. Come on now.
We're going to destroy all of them.
Bro, I've already seen this season a few times, but just watching this makes me want to watch it again. The Teen Wolf trailers are freaking iconic, but for this movie, they made trailers that were so painfully underwhelming, boring, and flat. They look like trailers for a lame action movie from 2001. I could not believe how bad these trailers were.
Not a 2001 action movie.
The Nikitsune has come to play a new game.
Fair enough.
And stop her.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
But
it is.
The biggest worry
it
for
is,
me came a few months later after the movie release date was pushed back to January 2023. See, while everything was underway, stories began to come out that this movie started production without really having a script. In fact, it was even confirmed by people
That's interesting,
working on
though.
the project that the script was being written in the middle of production. Like, basically, this movie was
I mean, that's
made
bad,
in a rush,
obviously.
and they didn't really have a story, and so they were just kind of making things up as they went. Now, that's a major red flag for any movie,
but
and that's probably why the news around
I think it was still. I think it was a good movie for Teen Wolf. For Teen Wolf, it was good, in my opinion.
Confirmed that Tyler
It's
Hoechlin
like, what do you
wouldn't be
expect?
reprising his role as Derek Hale in the film.
But he
wasn't
did.
coming back. There were a bunch of headlines about it. People were really
But
upset.
he did, though.
But then, like 2 months after the start of production, a story broke on Variety that he was back. Like, out of nowhere. Like, suddenly he was just in the movie.
What?
You get it.
I think the movie was written well, though. It's crazy to think that they wrote everything in the middle of production, but I think everything executed good, in my opinion. For Teen Wolf. For Teen Wolf.
I just didn't understand where they were going with it. And then the movie came out, and I understood they weren't going anywhere with it. Teen Wolf the movie is a giant mess. It's incoherent, nonsensical, it's stupid, it's incredibly lazy, it's just mediocre and way too long. And the story is so full of plot holes.
It was kind of long, but I didn't mind it, believe it or not.
Teen Wolf as a franchise that it's honestly a little insulting to the fans. All of that paired with the fact that this movie is so needlessly bloated. And this is gonna sound weird, but I'm gonna explain throughout the video, so bear with me. The biggest issue with Teen Wolf the movie that explains most of its problems moving forward is simply that this movie is not trying to be a Teen Wolf movie. It is trying to be Teen Wolf Season 7, but crammed into a 2.5-hour movie. And
okay, that is an interesting take.
We're gonna talk about all of this, but before we do that, I just want to take a quick moment to thank today's sponsor, Tyler Posey's Dignity.
Okay, I was about to say, I'm skipping that. Yeah, I was about to say, hold on, relax.
Takes place about 15 years after the events of the show. The story kicks
which
off
matches
in
their
Japan,
age
where a
in real life,
mysterious
pretty much for
man
everyone.
walks in a bar where Liam is working. Liam is Scott McCall's beta and a popular character from the original show's 2.0 cast, and immediately I just have to say, this movie starts so abruptly, it's a little funny. That's literally about 30 seconds into the movie. Anyways, the guy walks in and he's looking for a jar because he wants to free the Nogitsune. For the quick backstory, the Nogitsune is a 1,000-year-old evil fox spirit, a powerful and violent trickster that feeds off of chaos, strife, and pain. At the end of Teen Wolf Season 3, the Nogitsune is defeated by Scott and the pack, but since it's an invincible spirit that can't be killed, they trapped it in a jar made of wood that comes from a magical tree called the Nemeton. And now, 15 years later, a mysterious man comes to get the jar and free the spirit to cause chaos once again.
Yeah.
Now, here's the first thing I don't understand. Why was the jar in a bar in Japan with fucking Liam and this character who is clearly not here as a replacement for Kira because Arden show didn't come back? Why there? They weren't even.
I just thought him and Scott had the same taste. That's all I thought.
Public space. And why is it that they seem to be waiting for this man? It looked like they ambushed him. There were guys ready with guns and stuff in the whole bar. Were they expecting someone to try and steal it that very night? Was it all planned out? I'm asking because the movie never tells us, and it seems to be completely random. Like, we don't know what's actually happening in this scene. It's very vague, and the movie never addresses it. Who are these guys with guns in the bar? Are they mercenaries? Do they work for Liam or Discount Kira? This is so weird.
Not Discount Kira.
We're not even 3 minutes into
Discount
the movie,
Kira.
and already it's not making
shoot.
sense, and there are plot holes the movie will never care to explain. Anyways, so a fight erupts, and yeah, I'm not a gun person, but I'm pretty sure that's not how bullets work. After a quick struggle, the Hooded Death Eater gets the jar and frees the Nogitsune, and they make a deal to get revenge on Scott McCall. End of the prologue. We are now 4 minutes into the movie, and already I have a number of issues with it. The first one being the Nogitsune. The return of the Nogitsune is a little cringe and unnecessary. It feels desperate more than anything else, very in tune with Teen Wolf's undying attempts at recapturing.
See, I disagree. I really disagree with that because I feel like the entire movie, it mirrors season 3. Damn near. It just doesn't have Dylan O'Brien.
Unoriginal and lazy. And I would
I feel like this movie is like a homage to season 3.
Wolf, the show ended with an undefeated villain that escaped the heroes. And the show hints in the finale that she's still out there and that Scott and company are gonna have to face her again someday. So you'd think this was gonna be the story of the movie because it's literally the show's cliffhanger. But instead, the movie...
I'm not gonna hold you, I forgot about that. It took me watching his video to remember. Oh yeah, like, what was the thing?
While cherry
that was
picking
definitely
the elements of future seasons it wants to keep. And I'm just... why? I get that Jeff Davis is obsessed with 3B and has never managed to do something as good, but this is so weirdly contrived. But anyway, so then we're reintroduced to Scott McCall, the protagonist of Teen Wolf.
What do you guys call him again?
The Alpha.
Alright, that part is kind of like, alright.
Like a dog.
No.
Oh, like a wolf.
Like a wolf.
Oh my god, the dialogue in this movie, I swear
yeah,
to
still
God.
cringe.
Scott
Still
is now
cringe,
an
bro.
adult,
Still cringe.
he still works as a veterinarian, and he hasn't changed at all. That's the thing with pretty much everyone in this movie. Despite the fact that 15 years have gone by since the show's finale, every single one of them is the exact same. They pretty much look the same, they act the same, they're written the same. Like, this movie could have been taking place a week after the finale.
I guess that's a fair critique. That's a fair critique.
Because nothing
I
has
guess.
changed. So Scott is living a quiet life until one day when he's visited by Chris Argent, the father of his dead girlfriend Allison. And this is where the plot of the movie kicks in, if we can even call it that. This movie doesn't really have a story if you think about it, but we'll get into that later.
Okay, yeah, let's figure that out later, because I still, you know,
things get way too
I have
dumb
my stance on
way
this.
too quickly. The kickoff of the plot is really incoherent and really forced. The Bardo thing leading Argent to believe Allison is still alive in some form somewhere is a little stupid, and him setting the stakes for the story by saying he has a feeling the answers are back in Beacon Hills is such a lazy plot device to get the characters back to the town. But the funniest part is that when he is asked what they can do about this Allison theory, Argent simply says there is a ritual of some kind. And he also says this ritual has to be done at the next full moon or it can never be done again. Huh? What? This is how we're setting up the plot? With this vague-ass story thread based on a hunch that is based on a theory that is based on a dream? We are 14 minutes into this movie, and already, nobody is making any sense.
We're talking about dangerous rituals, thousands of years old. There are going to be repercussions.
How do you know that? Argent just said it's a ritual, quote, of some kind, and the only detail he gives about it is that he doesn't really have any details about it. We don't even know what that supposed ritual does. So what are you talking about? I'm sorry, but this is just such a bad start to the movie. And can we just talk about how little sense this whole ritual thing makes? That has to be one of the most poorly constructed storylines in all of Teen Wolf. And trust me, that's saying something. I kind of glossed over it, so let me go back. Let me just give you the quick breakdown of how the first act of the movie goes and how it makes no sense. So Argent says he had a vision of Allison where the word Bardo came up. Bardo is apparently a word that describes a state between life and death or something like that. So based on that, and based on that alone, Argent says that Allison is probably still alive, like in limbo, between the realm of the living and the other side. Now, keep in mind,
but Scott also had a dream too.
He's just assuming.
Scott had a dream too.
Guessing that.
I know we all die. I'm not pretending to know what happens next. But if there was something after this life, some next step, I don't think she made it.
This entire plot line rests on the idea that Argent just sort of imagines that maybe Allison's soul
I can't believe this is Teen Wolf, man. Come on now.
Which, by the way, I believe is Teen Wolf's first ever mention of an afterlife, so that's incredibly random and out of left field.
Or it could be expanding upon the lore.
The only thing there is to do about it is a
It's like, come on now,
ritual
bro.
he
Like,
doesn't really know anything
this
about.
isn't
And
like,
then
it doesn't
he
have to be
proceeds
Avengers
to
level of
never
writing or
explain
MCU level of
what
writing,
the ritual
but
is
still.
or what it does. All he says is that the answers are in Beacon Hills and they have to go there and make stuff happen on the next full moon. And again, he says it's their only chance. If they miss this full moon, it's never gonna happen. How does he know that? Never explained. Why is this the only moment they can save Allison?
Okay.
Never explained.
I might have missed that detail,
So Scott makes his way to Beacon Hills and Lydia meets him there. Yeah, Lydia is here.
But I don't think he mentioned that Scott had a dream
really
about
matter because
about
she barely
her
does
too.
anything in this movie, but whatever. She's here.
Like, he did
and
have
when
a dream
she
about
shows up,
Allison.
she just randomly says that they need to gather a handful of dirt from the ground where Allison died. Okay.
It could be because of her abilities?
We don't know. Is this part of the ritual mentioned by Argent? Couldn't tell ya. She just says that, and then they just do it. And I know it's not Argent that told them to do that off screen, because they meet up with Argent right after that, and he says gathering the dirt was step 2 according to Lydia. And when he asks her what the next step is, Lydia says she doesn't know. But Argent also doesn't know. So, like, what are they doing? What is currently going on in this movie? Because I would like to remind you that up to this point, Argent still has not explained what they are trying to do in the first place, and he never does. We have no idea what the characters are trying to accomplish right now. It's never told to us. We know they're trying to, quote, help Allison, but what does that mean? Help her how? Help her to do what? We don't know what they're doing, and it looks like they don't really know either. And
I mean, they don't. I'll admit that.
Argent
they definitely
says
don't.
Gathering the dirt was step 2 according
They
to
definitely
Lydia.
don't.
Okay, but what was step 1? You didn't do anything before that, so what was step 1? What is going on? Was step 1 going to Beacon Hills?
I mean, I see his point.
I see his point.
I see it.
This movie makes no sense. Oh my god. Oh, and that's not all, because a second later, Jackson shows up. Oh yeah,
Jackson was there.
Jackson is in this movie as well.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
You'll probably forget
that could have been
explained,
explained.
But he was there. Jackson shows up.
He was there, but like he didn't really do nothing.
Randomly starts playing with a bunch of papers that Lydia drew on while having some weird Banshee shit happen. He literally just walks in and immediately grabs the papers and he starts rearranging them like in Stranger Things and discovers that Lydia's incoherent drawings were actually a puzzle that create a larger picture of the Nematon, the magical tree from the show. Mind you, nobody asked Jackson to do that. He doesn't even know why he's here and what is going on. He had no idea the papers were a puzzle. He had no way to know. He didn't even know.
I feel like in context of watching the movie, it made sense.
The room,
but out of context,
out of nowhere,
it's like, and if you know Jackson, I get that. I understand
there,
that.
And nobody asked him to look at. He literally just does it because the story needs him to. And now that we have the picture from the puzzle, they think the next step is going to the Nematon. But they don't know how to get to the Nematon for some reason. It's never explained why they suddenly can't find it anymore. They were there more often than they were at school when they were teenagers. So because they can't find it, Scott and Lydia call Malia, whose only character development in that 15-year time jump is that she is now sleeping with Parrish.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
And that whole thing, that
Parrish
definitely
is here.
That caught me off guard. I'm not gonna hold you. This whole scene caught me off guard. Leading up to it, how it started, everything.
Lydia call Malia.
He's not gonna say that though.
She can use her senses to find the Nematon. I think. I'm just sort of guessing here because it's never actually explained why they're meeting with Malia. They just sort of meet her in the woods and they just start walking, which if this is to find the Nemeton, why can't Scott do that? I know Scott is a wolf and Malia is a coyote, but as far as we've been told, they have the exact same powers, except Scott is like 1,000,000 times more powerful.
Yeah.
He's a true alpha. And again, it's explained why
oh
they
god,
need
not
Malia
him
to
making
find the
sense,
tree.
bro.
They
He's
just
making
kinda meet
sense.
her and they
Shit.
start walking in the woods with her. Like they barely exchanged 2 words.
Oh, I missed you too. No, you didn't. Okay, I wanted to.
It's good to see you.
It's kind of awkward to see you.
But whatever, Malia can't find the Nemeton either.
Malia's been like
whatever
that, though. That's her
reason,
character.
But conveniently, at that very moment, Scott realizes that someone is following them. And it turns out to be Eli Hale, the 15-year-old son of Derek Hale. Oh yeah, Derek is back.
Yeah, and he's a dad.
And he has a kid.
Yeah.
Fuck his kid, I don't like him.
And low-key, his kid looks like
And
him.
he's really annoying. But anyways, he shows up and he says,
I didn't mind
hey,
him.
I just so happen to know where to find the tree you're looking for. So he takes them there. Quick reminder, we still don't know what they're trying to do. We don't know what their goal is here. They keep saying they have to do this, but the movie literally never tells you what this is. As far as they know, Allison, nobody knows what the ritual is, nobody knows how to perform that ritual, and nobody knows what the ritual will do if they succeed. The entire first act of this film
it's like
is a
aimlessly trying
giant
to
plot
bring
hole.
Allison back,
It's
basically.
trying to convince you that things are happening, but nothing is going on. Oh, and before we carry on with the Nemeton thing, it's worth mentioning that there is a random scene in the middle of that where Argent has a conversation with Deaton, and Deaton suspects Argent of being possessed by the Nogitsune. So he starts giving him some riddles to solve, and for some reason, Argent can't handle it. They sort of fight while solving riddles, and apparently the riddles are like hurting Argent, and suddenly a firefly flies out of his mouth.
Bro, what do you expect from Teen Wolf? Come on,
man.
man.
Mean?
Nothing.
Did you guess it's never explained and it has no impact on the story moving forward?
Nothing.
Because you would be correct. Good job.
Yeah.
Good for you. Here's a Kit Kat.
Oh,
This
thanks. I love
weird
Kit
ass
Kats. I love
sequence
them.
just
Love Kit Kat bars.
happens in the middle of other things happening, and then the movie carries on as if it never happened. And it's never mentioned again. We know the fireflies are a sign of the Nogitsune's presence because it happened with Styles in season 3. That's how the Nogitsune kind of possesses people. But here it does nothing. Argent is the same before and after that scene. It's literally here for no reason. You could think this is trying to say that Argent was possessed by the Nogitsune and the Nogitsune used him to bring everybody back to Beacon Hills with this fake bullshit about Allison. But no, because he was right about Allison, and she does end up coming back to life. So that can be it. I just... Did I mention this movie makes no sense? Anyway, so back to the woods. Scott, Lydia, and Malia are finally at the Nemeton, and they don't know what they're supposed to do. Again, because it's never explained to them or to us. So, out of nowhere, Lydia decides to present the tree with the sword that killed Allison, which, first of all, how do they have that sword? Allison was killed by an Oni, and these motherfuckers disappear with their weapons.
Okay, that's definitely an asshole. That's definitely an asshole.
So how do they have that sword?
For sure.
Anyway, Lydia presents the tree with the sword that killed Allison, and suddenly, the handful of dirt Scott gathered earlier flies out of his hand into the tree, and then the sword flies into it as well. Then there starts to be some very powerful wind, the tree starts to glow, and then boom, Allison comes back to life. Her body just materializes out of nothing, and she's just there. She's alive. And I just... What? What? You're telling me these idiots just performed the exact ritual they needed to revive her by accident? What? When I mean, tell you,
it can't happen by accident.
Busted out laughing at this scene. I actually had to pause it because I was baffled at how little sense it made. Like, seriously, who wrote the... Oh, wait.
Yeah, this guy, yeah.
And by the way, I would like to quickly remind you that the movie just started. We're still at the beginning. All of this brainless nonsense takes place in the first, 35 minutes of the movie.
Yeah,
and
something
this
like
thing
that,
is 2.5 hours long.
Yeah.
So we got a long
I thought it was going to be an hour and a half. I was like, dang, what are you trying to show us?
Nothing makes sense. The entire story
I'm glad they got it, but they could have definitely utilized it better.
And it only gets worse as it goes, believe it or not. And this is where we gotta talk about Allison. As established, the way Allison comes back is completely random and nonsensical and honestly kinda lame and again insulting to the audience's intelligence. And this is how dumb it is. Allison is brought back to life, but she's unconscious. So Scott, Lydia, and Malia decide to bring her to the hospital. But just a few minutes after she's admitted to the ER, Allison suddenly wakes up and escapes. Now, she's completely disoriented. She doesn't remember anything. She doesn't know where she is or who she is. But then she randomly starts hearing her father's voice from season 1 as he tells her about their family of werewolf hunters.
Our sons are trained to be soldiers, daughters to be leaders.
But that's probably the first thing that came to her mind. It makes sense.
Goes back to being a hunter. But she doesn't remember anything. All she knows is she has to kill werewolves.
But it's Loki because of the Nogitsune too, isn't it?
Sure. And then the Nogitsune finds her, very randomly might I add, and it takes the appearance of Allison's mother, and it
the way I took it is that he
kind
of orchestrated this.
I'm not sure I understand why she falls for it, because it's not like the Nogitsune immediately appears to her as her mom. He appears to her as the Nogitsune and then randomly turns into her mom, and she just believes it. So now that's the plot of the movie for the second act. Allison wants to kill Scott and Derek. And I gotta say,
everyone,
the things they could have done
as
with
part
the
of the
character,
pack.
I genuinely cannot bring myself to understand why they chose to bring her back the way they did. See, the trailers kind of lead you to believe Allison was brought back by the Nogitsune as a sort of mercenary that serves him. And that
but Loki, it seems like that.
So much more sense.
I mean, she didn't serve him, but she was convinced.
To bring back a zombie killing Allison to mess with Scott. That's exactly the type of insane shit the Nogitsune would do. But instead, she comes back accidentally. You could say the Nogitsune orchestrated it by creating
that's what I was saying,
to bring everybody back to Beacon Hills, but that doesn't make sense because, again, it wasn't a trick and it was hardly orchestrated. I would have understood if making them believe they could bring her back to life was a ploy to make them return to the town, but they actually do bring her back to life, and by accident. If this is what they were going for, it would mean the Nogitsune's plan entirely relied on Scott and company to be fucking morons who act on incredibly far-fetched assumptions, because there is no way this should have worked, and it doesn't make sense. But then again, if Allison really was sending a signal from Limbo for her friends to help her come back, then why is that never mentioned once she comes back? She never talks about being in Limbo. That thread completely disappears from the plot as soon as she comes back to life.
I don't remember her mentioning that.
As far as the story is concerned,
I just assumed maybe she couldn't remember it.
So the entire first act of the movie is completely invalid. Oh my god, this movie is so frustrating. Allison's whole plotline feels completely half-assed. You can tell they did not think this through even a little bit. Even the circumstances around her relationships are completely illogical. Allison comes back to life after being killed at age 17, I think. So even if 15 years have gone by, technically, she's still a teenager. Except it's odd to see because Crystal Reed is almost 40 years old now.
Yeah, she is.
Way too old to play a teenager.
That's crazy.
But even
That's
if they
crazy.
decided to break the logic and make her an adult physically, mentally, she's still 17 years old because she was dead for 15 years. So it's really weird to watch this movie attempt to rekindle her teenage romance with Scott, who is now well into his 30s. I don't understand why she's back. I genuinely believe they would never do something this cheap, and so I stupidly assumed that her being resurrected would not be permanent, that it would either be a trick from the Nogitsune or something in that vein that would justify her not actually staying alive by the end of the movie. But no, she's back, and she's back for good, which takes away so much of the weight from her death in season 3 of the show. And if you've seen my other Teen Wolf video, you know I like Allison a lot as a character, but that doesn't mean I want her to come back to life just like that in such an incoherent story. Like, it doesn't do anything for her, it actually kind of ruins her character. I mean, she's not the worst character in the movie.
I don't think it ruined her character.
Disappointing to see
I see his point. I see his point. Who are you? But still, I don't think it ruins her character. Personally.
Get the fuck out of here.
And it's not only the returning characters that are awful here. The new ones too. Discount Kira Yukimura is so incredibly lame as a character. The actress playing her is really bad in this role. Sorry to her. Maybe she's a good actress. I've never seen her in anything else.
She seemed cool to me.
It was a bit distracting in this movie.
I didn't think she was bad.
And what was more distracting is how obvious it is that this character was supposed to be Kira. It's almost embarrassing how it comes across. She barely speaks the entire movie. We learn nothing about her. I'm not even sure we know what her name is. Nobody really talks to her except for Liam. She's only used very fleetingly in some of the movie's worst action sequence, which, by the way, the action sequences in this movie are really bad. It's kind of insane. The editing is really odd and the sound mixing is incredibly off. There are some scenes where you can't really hear anything except for the sound effects of the swords that are way too loud. Like, it looks and sounds like the scenes were not fully completed. And it's like that throughout the entire movie. Some shots straight up look like they were not finished. There's
this one definitely for sure.
Horrific green screen.
The green screen
feels like PlayStation 2 graphics. Like, again,
relax, bro. It's more like PlayStation 3.
This whole movie feels so half-assed, man. Like, what's happening? How did this happen? Who let this happen? I'm tired, man. This thing is a nightmare. And why is Jackson here?
What do detectives do anyway? Do they, like, go to the scene of the crime and detect something?
Oh my god, why is he here?
That seems funny, bro. It was funny to me.
Even in situations of peril, he's incompetent. Jackson is a freaking canema. He even has a line in the movie where he brags about having claws and a tail that can poison people or whatever.
He did
but
do
we
that.
never see him transform in this movie. He's literally useless. He gets shot and he stays on the ground in pain for the rest of the movie, and then we just don't see him again. It's so painfully clear that Jeff didn't know what to do with him. So again, why is he here? This whole movie feels like Jeff Davis picked up the phone and called everyone in the Teen Wolf cast and asked them to come back for a movie, and he was just like, I have no idea what we're doing, but whoever says yes, we'll just figure it out later, I guess. Like, he didn't actually have a story to tell. He didn't know what to do with the characters. Just hope that it would somehow work out magically if the cast was back. And seeing what this movie turned out to be, I'm honestly glad he didn't get to bring the two best characters back, because he probably would have ruined them too. Anyways, the movie starts dragging on in the second act, again making me question why this thing needed to be 2.5 hours long. It still doesn't make sense. Allison is told by the Nogitsune to track down Scott and kill him, and then kill the rest of the pack, but also Allison wants to kill Derek. But instead of doing all this, she spends like 20 minutes going after Derek's kid, who she has no reason to be hunting. At first I thought she was trying to attack him so that Scott would come to his rescue and she could fight him, but that doesn't make sense because
she was just trying to get rid of Derek.
Idea who Eli
she
is.
found out that she tried to take care of his kid, take him out.
She knows he's just a random kid. Why is she after him? She has no way of knowing that Scott would come after him to protect him. Anyways, whatever. Inside of all of that, she almost kills Derek, who is so nerfed in this movie, he might as well not be a werewolf anymore. Then Allison starts fighting Scott, but Scott doesn't want to fight her, so he spends literally over 20 minutes of the runtime just being like, wait, I just want to talk. Let me explain. Please stop. You don't understand. He never actually says what he wants to say. The whole time he's just like, please stop. You have to hear me out. You don't understand. Fantastic job, Jeff. This is definitely how you build good tension in a movie. Bravo, brother. Then nothing really happens for a very long time. A bunch of characters are captured by the Nogitsune. And by the way, just for the quick reminder, we are now an hour and 40 minutes into this movie, and we still don't really know what the Nogitsune's plan is. This whole time, he's just kind of there. He wants Scott dead. Okay, but what is he doing exactly? Things are just sort of happening. There's no rhyme or reason to any of it, but again, you're just supposed to accept it as a story. Oh, and also, in case you didn't know, Lydia and Jackson are in this movie, and they needed to contribute somehow. So the mysterious hooded guy from the beginning finds them, and he unmasks himself to them for some reason. They treat the reveal of this hooded villain like a big thing, and then it turns out to be... I'm sorry. Does anybody remember this guy?
Yeah, I don't.
Oh,
I'm not the only one.
Teacher?
Good.
B plot of season 3.
Good.
Essentially a plot.
I'm glad I'm not the only one. I was feeling bad because I was like,
okay.
I was like, I don't remember him.
Honestly, from how this entire movie has been handled, I'm pretty sure his villain is the one that's revealed because it's the only actor that accepted to come back. But, okay, cool. Good for him. And now, this is when the movie really devolves into something so bafflingly bad that I struggle to believe this movie wasn't meant to be a joke. When I told you this movie gets worse as it goes, trust me, I wasn't lying. The third act of Teen Wolf the movie is something that will forever break my brain. I cannot count the amount of stupid moments in these last 25 minutes. Peter being convinced that Allison is an illusion, the awkward speech about the divine move, Scott having to play a game of lacrosse with teenagers to outrun the Nogitsune doing something that's never explained, but somehow it's really urgent that they win a game of lacrosse very fast because apparently people will die, but we don't know how or why. I just... this movie is so fucking stupid.
Wolfsbane.
What is going on, man? Oh, by the way, Peter gets poisoned with Wolfsbane in this scene, but then he's never healed from it? So, like, he should be dead right now. But no, he's not. It's never addressed.
Peter, come on now. You're not gonna die from
I don't
something
know.
like
I guess
that.
the movie forgot about that too. But this
Probably
is
did.
when the third act of the movie goes into
That is crazy
full
though.
gear,
That they
and
really
it is
started.
some of the most impressively mediocre stuff Teen Wolf has
They really
ever
started writing the
given
movie in the
us.
middle of
Let me
production.
just explain to you how much this third act makes zero.
I do kind of. I feel like where he was coming from was, at the end of the day, yes, he watched Teen Wolf just like I watched Teen Wolf, but he wanted something better than what we got. Me personally, I feel like I'm more of a realist now when it comes to certain TV shows that I watch. Is it valid to still critique a TV show even though you know it's doing the job that it's supposed to do? Yes, of course. But for me, I judge this based off of Teen Wolf standards. I thought for something like this as a Teen Wolf movie, I think that this was valid. Like, I enjoyed this a lot. And something that he brought up that is also valid. At the end of the day, yes, this might do something for the fans, but this isn't going to present. It's going to be, for people who are new to Teen Wolf, if they're watching this, I can see that they might be a little confused watching this film if they wanted to get into Teen Wolf. And I would say, if you want to get into Teen Wolf, don't watch the movie first. Watch the TV show at least up to season 3, I would say. At least season 3. And then you can watch the movie. I understood everything that he was saying. I think all of it is very valid. I was actually surprised that he didn't like it, but this guy does such a good job at these videos that I watch that is valid. Like, there's so many ways that Teen Wolf could have been better than what it was. So I understand it 100%. I understand it. It's very careless. It's careless, bro. It's careless. At least with everything that he said, it was careless. With Jeff Davis being the head of Teen Wolf or whatever, he was just, I think he got really careless with Teen Wolf after season 3. That's my personal opinion. That's how I feel, because I just felt like it turned into Riverdale. And not Riverdale season 1, but like Riverdale season 2 and everything after Riverdale season 1. Riverdale season 1 was very grounded, and it still fit and it still made sense. It was all very concise. But then after that, everything just started becoming more so, I guess this is what we should do to appeal to the teenage audience. They won't really realize that these two storylines don't make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that's the best way I can put it, is that Teen Wolf after season 3 was Riverdale before Riverdale. So I understand his perspective wholeheartedly. Now, getting into my own review of Teen Wolf from a Teen Wolf fan's perspective, who's also a realist, yeah, we got what we got, and I was satisfied with what we got. Maybe it's also because I ship Allison and Scott, and Allison dying was probably when she died, for me personally, and I'm sure there's a lot of fans that felt the same way too. It's like, dang, like, Allison's gone. Like, that really hurt. It's like, damn, she's gone. So you're telling me you bring back Allison. For me, going into this film, I assumed that Allison was gonna be like a ghost or just a fake or something else. I didn't think this was actually gonna be Allison. So the fact that we got Allison is crazy. And I'll say overall, the entire film is really like, it's a lot of season 3 vibes. Which is probably why I personally enjoyed it, because the whole aesthetic is kind of, or not the whole aesthetic, a lot of this plot is things that we got in season 3. Season 3 is my favorite season of Teen Wolf. It's also the best season of Teen Wolf. So for me, that's one of the main reasons why I enjoyed this. Allison is also alive. How she got brought back to life is a little bit crazy. Essentially, she was in purgatory and they had to do something and they brought her back. That kind of didn't make sense. Like I said, I'm not really here to get into the inconsistent. I don't know if I'm really gonna get into those inconsistencies or those ass pulls or whatever you want to call it. But I will say, like, that didn't make sense. But then Allison comes back, and Allison is literally on her Huntress shit. Like, she's literally the Huntress from DC Comics. Like, she's trying to kill everyone Scott and everyone connected to Scott that is a supernatural being. You know what I'm saying? So we got a lot of that, which I thought was cool. But it also made me mad because it's like, damn, like Allison just came back and y'all are going with this type of storyline where she's back and she's being deceived by the No Gitsune to essentially get rid of Scott McCall and his pack, his crew. I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I wasn't the biggest fan of that being the reason for why she's being that way. But it was cool to see, in my opinion. There's a 15-year time skip, obviously, as he stated in this video. It's a 15-year time skip, which is why Derek Hale's son is in high school. It makes sense. But to me, that makes me think. So Derek must have conceived his son either at the end of Teen Wolf off screen or a year after that end of that season. You know what I mean? It's very, very weird. But I kind of like the 15-year time skip because now basically everyone is the age they're actually technically supposed to be. Like, Tyler Posey was in his 20s when he did Teen Wolf, I believe. I want to say. Now, Tyler Posey is he's either close to his 30s or he's in his early 30s now. You know what I'm saying? Or he's just 30. So it fits. It's like everyone is the age that they're supposed to be. So I kind of like that for that reason. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these teen shows, they try to really make sure that adults play teen characters. Which is something that I understood back in the day, but now it's like, if you have teenagers to play a teen show, let the teenagers play in a teen show, you know? Kind of like that 90s show, which I'll talk about in another video. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie, like, it was tough watching this movie at times because I really wish Styles was here. Like, everyone is here except for Kira. She didn't get brought back because she wasn't getting equal pay. Completely understand that. That's completely fine. You go do that. You know what I'm saying? Dylan O'Brien not coming back, I didn't understand why his character as Styles didn't come back. I feel like maybe because they started writing in the middle of production, and that's why he didn't come back. That's the only thing that really makes the most sense to me, because if I was an actor, I would think, oh, y'all are just figuring this shit out now? And not even awesome. Here's the thing. If Dylan O'Brien was just this guest star, he's never been on Teen Wolf, and they're gonna get him on Teen Wolf, that's one thing. But Dylan O'Brien has been through all of this stuff, and I don't know what news is out there, if he even spoke to the reason why he wasn't in this movie, but I'm pretty sure that's why. He knows everything he went through as he was on this show. So I think in his mind, he's probably thinking, here they go with this bullshit again. No, I'm not doing it. Like, I'm not interested. I'm sorry. Like, I'm just not. Like, maybe if things were handled differently, maybe, but that's my understanding as to why Styles isn't here. And I'm sorry, like, this entire review is going to kind of be a little bit all over the place. I really wanted it to be concise, but it's going to be a little bit all over the place. So, like he said, Derek dying. Derek's dead now. And Derek really went out sad. Like, he really went out sad. And I felt like this entire movie, he was on defense mode. Like, he was on the defense. He was never fighting. I mean, he fought, but he fought to defend himself. He wasn't really trying or anything. So when he died, it was really predictable. But then also Tyler Hoechlin is on Superman and Lois, that TV show. So even if they try to do a new Teen Wolf series after this movie, which is what I got that vibe. Like, maybe me and him are on the same wavelength, because I really felt like y'all are trying to introduce his son. Y'all are really making Derek's son important. It seems like Derek's son is gonna be like a protagonist for like this new series or something like that. That's the vibes I got from this. What else is there? Scott is still the alpha, but at the same time too, I never really liked Scott as an alpha. At first, it was super cool for Scott to be the alpha, but it just seems like he doesn't do any. He does alpha stuff, but he doesn't do too many cool things as the alpha. I feel like there's so much that he does that could be explored that the show failed at doing that, in my opinion, and even the movie to a certain degree. Because if he's the alpha, the true alpha, I feel like there should be more to it than Derek, who had to essentially, I would say Scott earned his rank as alpha. He got it naturally because of who he is, because he's a pure person. Derek and every other person on the Teen Wolf TV show that became an alpha, they took it from defeating someone else, which is also cool, but those guys seem a lot more cooler than Scott was as the alpha, in my opinion. That's how I feel like. And so it's cool that he's still the alpha, but at the same time too, what are you really doing? And that's the vibes I kind of got from that. We definitely got to see more Kitsune stuff, aka Ninetales Fox stuff, but like I said, Kira's not in this movie, so they got her replacement. Interesting, because it seems like Scott and his beta are into the same type of girls. That's very, very, I don't know. Man, Allison was being manipulated throughout the entire film until Lydia helped her come to her senses fully. I didn't like that she was being manipulated so badly. Like, I understood why, but I didn't like it. I think it's Teen Wolf in general. There's always a lapse in logic in all of this stuff. What else? Jackson not really. Jackson wanted to be a werewolf so badly, but now he's also a werewolf and a chimera. I forget what he is, but nonetheless, he's a OP. He should be an OP supernatural being. But we don't get any of that really. So it's like Jackson didn't do nothing in this film. And it really is showing overall throughout this entire film that, yeah, they really must have started writing this whole movie late, because everything that we got to see, it's just some stuff doesn't make sense. Like, I would feel like knowing that the first 3 seasons of Teen Wolf might be the best 3 seasons. Obviously, season 3 being the best one, but like, there's not too much crazy stuff that doesn't make too much sense going on in those first 3 seasons. In that sense, that's what I mean. I'm not gonna say they're the best 3. Season 3 is the best. But still, you know what I mean? So I would feel like that they would have really tried to make this make more sense and make up for those mistakes that they made in the past. But like I said, Jeff Davis, maybe that's why. I mean, what else is there? Something I didn't really enjoy from the original TV show is that the TV show was kind of cringy at times and corny. Like, maybe another word people would use is maybe campy. But I just didn't like that at times. It kind of became almost overwhelming. And I didn't realize it when I was watching the show. I realized that after the fact. And I just didn't like it. I would like to give this movie props because it wasn't too corny, wasn't too cringy at times. Yes, there's moments where certain stuff doesn't make sense, but I wouldn't count that as corny or cringy. You know what I mean? Besides Parrish and Malia getting together, besides that, you know what I'm saying? And Malia, yo, that scene really caught me off guard. I was like, yo, what am I watching right now? They really went in on Teen Wolf. Like, they really did what they could do with the rating that they were given. And that I will really give them props for, because it felt more natural. Like, hearing Allison's dad, like, saying that, like, dropping the F-bomb is like, it all felt very natural. Yeah, so the movie wasn't cringy. It wasn't too cringy. It might have had its moments, but it wasn't too cringy. It wasn't too corny either. And for a movie that was 2 hours long, a Teen Wolf movie that is 2 hours long, I thought the movie was gonna be like an hour and a half. So once we got like into an hour and a half in the film, I had to look at the time like, yo, this is supposed to be 2 hours. and there wasn't really too many dull moments. Given that comparison to Infinity War, the movie was mostly cohesive. There wasn't really too many moments where you kind of cringe because it's like, why is this part of the film here? In my opinion, like I said, I really enjoyed this movie. The thing with Allison, why? It seems like Allison knew where everyone was after she left the hospital. So when Allison got brought back to life, they took her to the hospital. But then after that, that's when the Nogitsune got to her, and then she started just wilding out. So I wonder how did she know where everyone was? That was very weird to me. Like, how did she know if she just got brought back to life and she doesn't remember everyone? And she doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, it was just, that was very, very confusing for me. And also, even though Derek sacrificed himself, I wonder, is he really dead? I kind of accept it like he is, but still, this is Teen Wolf, and Allison just got brought back to life. So what could that possibly mean? Before Derek died, his eyes turned red for a brief moment. And that also makes me wonder, why did his eyes turn red? Very briefly. It's not hard to miss if you're paying attention, but yeah, his eyes turned red. So it's like, damn, is he an alpha? Or the way I understood it was him giving himself up, him sacrificing himself was a genuine sacrifice. He was being genuine, being pure, right? So maybe he turned into a true alpha before he died? I don't know. I think they gave Derek a pretty proper tribute, not only with like just showing scenes from the actual TV show, but then also the way they did it is like, this is how Derek will probably go out. That's how I really that's how I think it will make the most. That's how I think it would go. And also, Derek and Styles' dad are like besties actually, apparently, in this movie, which is also interesting because you know how Derek feels about Styles, but nonetheless. Oh yeah, so Mr. Harris, the teacher from the TV show too, he was working with the Nogitsune. He got brought to Aiken House. So that was a thing. I just felt like it's something I should mention, but I don't have much else to really say about it. And I mean, ultimately, that's pretty much it. Scott and Allison are back together. Derek's, like you said, you know, Derek's son, it seems like he might be adopted by Scott. Scott will probably adopt Derek's son into his pack because that is one of Derek's final wishes before he died. He did ask Scott to allow Eli into his pack. What else is there? Eli was having kind of performance issues of becoming a werewolf and stuff. By the end, that doesn't really matter. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm sure there's a lot more that I could probably say, and if y'all have any thoughts on this whole my review or this whole reaction in its entirety, this whole video, let me know down in the comment section. If you watched it, let me know, what do you think? Like, give me your objective rating on this film, but then also give me, if you're a Teen Wolf fan, and also give me your fan rating. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see your perspective on that and just understand, because for me personally, that's kind of how I felt. Like, I enjoyed this. Considering everything we got from Teen Wolf from beginning to end, I enjoyed this film. Maybe I'm biased too, but it is what it is. But yeah, if y'all enjoyed this video, please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.